Peace and blessings, everybody. Hey, we say peace and we say blessings because we know that in the African tradition, that what you send out into the universe is what you get back. And so here we are at this writer's workshop talking about healing, a laying on of hands, well-being in the Africana experience. And with the state of the world and the White House right now, healing is something we definitely need. And healing can take place in so many different ways. Through literature, which gives us a safe space to talk about difficult topics, or as Dr. Cirecie Olatunji will be talking about today, the whole idea of self-care. And I am going to read her bio, but there are a few things that I want to say about her myself. So Cirecie West Olatunji currently serves as the CEO of CREST Program LLC. Dr. West Olatunji is the founding director of the Center of Traumatic Stress Research. She is also a past president of the American Counseling Association. And I'm going to cut this short because y'all got the QR code, and I want us to spend our time hearing everything that she has to say, because y'all know it's Wednesday. Classes are only 50 minutes. So here is her extensive bio, 60 published articles, founding director of this, founding director of that. She is the one. But I first met Dr. Olatunji at the Faculty Resource Network at NYU. She was doing an institute, a week-long, on exercising self-care to rewire the brain, which was transformative. It was so powerful, they asked her to come back the next summer, and yes, I was in that class too. And so you all are going to get some of that. I also had the opportunity to study under her this summer in New Orleans as she talked about her emancipatory research. And that key word here is emancipatory. And she will talk some about that, I think. But I am going to step away and let her do her thing. Dr. Cirecie West Olatunji.
All right. How y'all doing? Well, I hope you feel even better after this. So that's my job. It's a tall order, but we're going to fill it. So I have dedicated my professional life to talking about trauma, traumatic stress, and traumatic stress as a trauma or distress that doesn't go away, that is pervasive, and particularly talking about it in relation to people from marginalized groups, and specifically talking about Black people in the diaspora. And so that's what my research has been about, that's what my clinical activity has been about, and so that is my passion, that is it. When I retired last year, I decided that I wanted to put all my efforts into this company I developed that essentially recreates the curriculum in a decolonized way. In other words, you know how you're sitting in class and you're wondering, what's this got to do with me? So I decided, okay, we need to redo that curriculum, and we're doing it one course at a time across the entire curriculum, and we call it the Communiversity. And so there's the opportunity, if you're interested in being able to do that. I was fortunate that while I was going through my graduate studies, that I had mentors, people who were scholars in all kinds of areas. And after I went to class, I literally would go to them and explain what was going on in the class, and then they would reinterpret it culturally so that I could understand what pieces of that matter and what pieces of that I want to throw away. And that helped me to keep my head on straight in order to be useful to you. So today we're going to talk about radical self-care. And I used to talk about self-care because self-care is important anyway. And I discovered neuroscience to be able to really understand what's going on with the body, to be able to help people to understand, to get to this point of rewiring the brain. Now, I think most of us who grew up in the hood and know really, really, really smart people in the community who never make it to the university, right? And so there was always this issue of, why do we discount some of the brightest people in the community? Why do they never make it? Why are they being targeted? You know, what is needed? So we in the community always know you don't throw anybody away. There's always an opportunity for somebody to turn their lives around. We have so many examples of that. Some of you in here may be examples of that. So I always understood why we needed to do self-care and the value of self-care, spiritually, physically, emotionally, right? I understood that. But it wasn't until I started looking at radical self-care. What is that? Why do we need radical self-care? I'm going to talk about that today, but that is where we need to be. So that is where I am pushing us to be revolutionary in our self-love. That is an important concept, to be revolutionary in our self-love. Self-love is not a very passive thing. Self-love is an active thing, and it's also revolutionary. It is particularly revolutionary for Black people because we live in an anti-Black space. And so it's important for us to be able to exercise Black love, and it is inherently revolutionary. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I have with me my co-founder of my company, Crest Program, LLC, and it's Dr. Constance West. She is a clinical psychologist, also my sister, and she is amazing. So together, we have put this, we started this. Now, we started off with the media release form. I hope some of you have filled that out because we hope that everyone has filled that out because we want to share this. So it's already being shared on the video, but we wanted to share it on some of our media. Oh, yes, and we also will have a couple of giveaways within this hour. So radical self-care as a social justice act. So a lot of people are talking about social justice these days, but we're not connecting it with revolutionary love. And so I want you to learn more about this, and then I want to give you some tools. And then these are some of the things that I'm going to talk about. And we also are going to share this PowerPoint with you. So we're going to make sure that this gets to you next. And so I got a poll for you. Often when I'm talking to people, they have signs of distress. And they say, I don't know why I forgot. I don't know why I'm forgetting things all the time. I don't know why that, I feel irritable all the time. I don't know why I have a brain fog. I don't know. And I often look at them and I think, there's a whole bunch of reasons why, right? And so I've been writing about that. So I want to find out from you, what's stressing you out right now? What's stressing you out? Now we're going to pull up, it's going to create a Wordle. So let me escape and then go to.
Has everybody seen the QR code?
So everybody's captured the QR code? Okay, yeah. So let's start letting them see it. I think that might be it. Go to the internet. Is that it? Yeah. Click present. Right, so as you type in whatever is stressing you out, it should be projected up on the screen. And so we can see, So I see school, of course, the larger the font.
Grades.
And grades, school grades. It's coming up, school grades. We need somebody to start doing some spoken word right now, looking at that screen. School grades, school money, grades. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Relationships.
Yeah. Relationships is getting bigger too. Yeah, exactly. So we're looking at what's on your mind. Absolutely. Housing. Absolutely. And when we have saturated this also will be sent to you. so that you have a record here of what it is that we talked about. And this also gives us a before we provide some of these activities with you of what's going on, absolutely. So we can see that. That is going to continue, but I would imagine that most of you have already shared. Please feel free to continue to put things in as we go through, and we'll just leave it presenting and go back to the PowerPoint. Next. So yeah, so I did some research to take a look at what are people talking about? What is happening in terms of the research? So we have researchers, scholars who are looking at this of what's going on in the 21st century. Now, before this, I was writing, because I did a lot of work around Hurricane Katrina, you know, being from New Orleans, right? I wrote a lot about what was going on, and at that time I was saying, look, there's some things that we know from various scholars, from epidemiologists, right? From political scientists, from geologists, about what the 21st century is gonna be all about. And so we knew things like climate change were gonna be a part of it, right? We knew that political conflicts. We didn't know that COVID was going to come. And COVID, of course, hasn't gone away. And what we know is that SARS epidemics will be rampant in the 21st century. And we're only a quarter of the way through. So we can expect there'll be another pandemic that'll come out. But what we want to concentrate on is historical trauma and continuous traumatic stress. That's important for us because whatever is going on, so some of you heard me make a comment earlier this morning during that presentation, which is awesome, but really talking about what Black people and other people of color often have experienced are from past generations that are passed down. The difficulty is that we're experiencing that trauma in the present in terms of cultural aggression, of how physically, get physical aggression, right? I know, for instance, when I'm in a busy airport, how many times do I get bumped into? How many times do people butt the line right in front of me when there's a whole lot of people? Why y'all keep coming in right here, right? So there's also a lot of those things. If some of you have gone to predominantly white K-12 schools, you know, there's a lot of bullying that goes on and so on. So we know that there's the physical aggression, sometimes physical aggression from teachers, right? We also know in terms of language, people listening to you, of how you talk, the words you use, and determining whether or not you matter, right? Deciding based on how you talk, whether or not it works. And that's not just in just regular conversation, that could be in how you construct your creative work. I think about the biography of Toni Morrison, and she writes about when she first started writing, her first book was what? I'm sorry, I come from a Baptist church. The name of her first book was? Correct. And when she brought that book to the publishers, do you think they looked at that and said, oh, you're writing about Black people? Yes, we want that. Do you think that's what they said? What'd they say? They said, get that crap out of here. That doesn't sell. That's what they told her. One of the greatest writers of all time. That's what they told her. And if she had internalized that, she wouldn't have written anything else. She certainly wouldn't have taken it to another publisher. So that anti-Blackness, right, is something that we swim in, we breathe it every day. And we need something that counters that, and instead it is about pro-Blackness and revolutionary love. Okay? So we have a lot of things that are stressing us out, as they are other people. But we have some other things that just don't go away. They're with us all the time. Next. Next. And so, then the next one, I really want to concentrate concentrate on the next one. So what is the impact of that, right? So what happens is that without even thinking about race-based stress, without thinking about cultural aggression, we may wonder, why are we feeling a particular way? Why are we feeling some kind of way, right? And so it's important for us to understand that it creates numbness, so lack of engagement, I don't care, I'm not interested, I'm not involved, that's not about me, right? Or it could be anxiety. So depression, anxiety, right? And dealing with that. Also, addiction. And it's not just about substances. So you might be thinking about alcohol addiction, drug addiction, but it could be internet addiction. How are you distracting yourself? It's addiction. It could be shopping addiction. It could be sex addiction. All kinds of things that we do to distract ourselves without asking, why am I doing this? Is it making me feel any better, right? And then, of course, how are we disproportionately experiencing things? Next. So, of course, when we think about neuroscience, understand the brain, the neuroscientists have caught up with our common sense about who people are. But there is a way to explain how we're going through that and why we're going through that. So those are things that, if you were talking to a professional, that they would begin to explain some of those things with you. But what's important is how we're able to understand that to make changes. Next.
Okay. So before we move on to the next slide, I just want to...
Before we move on to the next slide, I just want to highlight some really important points that Dr. Olatunji has already made and to share some other things with you. So when Dr. Olatunji talks about cultural aggression, and of course we all know being people of color living in a society that is not necessarily designed for us, one of the things that's so awesome, like being in Clark Atlanta, I was just walking around, the names of the streets and everything around you says, okay, y'all the bomb, do your thing, you've always been amazing. In the regular world, we don't have that kind of feedback all the time, especially if you're in predominantly white spaces, right? And so it's going to be important for all of you to think about what about this experience you want to carry forward in your life so that you can make sure you have those reminders of our greatness, independent of how the world may say we are, the challenges that we face across settings. But I want to share 3 ideas with you about anti-Black attitudes. And if you don't remember anything else from anything I say today, I hope you can remember these 3 things. Anti-Black attitudes are 3 things. Probably more than 3, but 3 main things. Okay, so one thing is they are pervasive or ubiquitous, right? So it's everywhere. So one of the things that I found when I was anything I've done, but when I was a foster parent, also when I work with children, because I'm a psychologist, when I work with children, they come in. By the time they're 3 or 4, a lot of times they would, if I say draw a picture or just give them some crayons, they would draw this little white girl still with blue eyes and blonde hair. And they look so similar. I'm like, these kids are from all over, right? But the picture that they would draw was so similar. It's like all of us have been given certain things to think about. And if we're not careful, we will regurgitate that, right? And so it's super important. So when Dr. Olatunji talks about it being revolutionary to engage in self-care, it is, right? Because what happens is, without even thinking about it, we have, like a sponge, absorbed a lot of these negative thoughts and images of us. And we have to go ahead and be like, okay, let me do an assessment at the toe. What have I taken in that I need to get rid of? And be active in doing that. And use effective strategies to get rid of it. Because otherwise, it is detrimental to us. It's like a disease, right? So one thing is that it is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. So we don't have to ask if it's there. It's where is it? What's the impact? And what can we do to get rid of it, right? Or minimize its consequences. The second thing that I want to talk to you about it being is it is contagious, like a disease. right? And so when people think a certain way and you're around those people, you've been around those people who say, black people this, black people never this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you spend that time around people. If you're not careful, some of that will come on into your psyche and you'll find yourself thinking certain things or saying certain things or doing certain things. So we have to be very conscious in our efforts to push that back, to repel that, right? So it goes from person to person, institution to institution, country to country, like America and South Africa used a lot of different models about how to do what they did to our people. It also goes across generations. So there are a lot of good things we get from our parents and our grandparents, but some of that stuff, they talk about good hair.
Come
That's
on
a
now.
pretty baby.
Come on now.
What's a pretty baby? Okay, let's break that down, right? So we have to be able to say, I love you and everything, and you're brilliant about certain things, but some of that stuff is toxic, right? So we have to do something about that. We got to take it, if that's what you're thinking, if that's how you feel, then you have to be able to say, okay, that's unhealthy for me, and I'm not going to take this and pass it down to my children and their children. So it's contagious, ubiquitous. And the last thing is, what's the third thing? I'm all caught up thinking about these poor babies, drawing the same little blonde hair, blue-eyed girl. Okay, it is lethal. What does it mean to be lethal? Deadly. Or cause serious harm. It is very lethal. It turns out premature death in black people, hypertension, asthma, all of that. There's a higher correlation between that amongst people who report higher levels of perceived racism or anti-black attitudes. How about before you're even born?
Yes.
Right? Turns out for women, particularly women of higher education, y'all in here getting this education, and higher socioeconomic status in general, so these so-called good jobs, there's a higher level of infertility. If you take a look and you think about who do you know who's highly educated, has a really high-powered job, a lot of those women don't have any children or have difficulty having children. They need assistance having babies. It's because of their exposure to anti-black attitudes in the workplace. Okay, so that's before you're even born. And it's also associated with a low birth weight and other negative outcomes
Premature
for babies.
death.
So it is lethal. We got to be active. We can't just go about your business. We have to be very active in getting that stuff off of us. It's like gunk, right? When you get to your home or on your way home, you got to figure out how you get that stuff up off of you. Otherwise, it can impact you. But there are some really effective ways of going about getting rid of that, expelling that stuff, right? And we have to do that actively. So that's why it's revolutionary to engage in self-care. And why it's imperative. So we think, oh, I'll do that later, or whatever, or I'm too busy. No, baby, we're not too busy for that, right? Because it can cause us to lose out on our life or happiness in our life. All right? Lethal, ubiquitous,
Deadly.
contagious. Yeah. All right.
All right.
So that's giving the motivation for getting this work done.
So,
When we talk about that environment that we're in, so again, to understand what's going on with us, there are 4 things that I typically, in every presentation that I do, I talk about continuous traumatic stress because that is our lives. And there are these 4 things. Acknowledging that the environment is pathological. So you heard Dr. West talk about that. This may be very, very supportive, but when you go out into the larger world, yeah, it's problematic. That's where you experience that anti-blackness. It focuses on the present and the future rather than the past. Most of us have heard about post-traumatic stress disorder. Y'all heard about that? Yeah, well, the stress that we experience, there ain't no post in that. It's not post for us. It's every day we wake up to it. And it's something that we're likely to wake up to tomorrow as well. It's unpredictable. In other words, you can't be tall enough, short enough, light enough, dark enough.
Smart
you can't
enough.
be anything that's going to exempt you from that. You can't be smart enough, clever enough, funny enough. You can't. So it's acknowledging that it's unpredictable and sudden. It can happen at any moment. And then finally, it acknowledges that the trauma occurs with impunity. In other words, you know what would happen if you stood up and started talking about what just happened to you. Whatever it was, you get labeled. You might get kicked out, right? And we know that. That's called impunity, meaning they have the power to exercise, their superiority. Next. So, what is the cost of caring for foot soldiers for justice? Your pen is powerful. That's why they're trying to erase it. It's powerful. So one of the things we know from the research is that social justice folks experience more mental health issues than folks who are not in the struggle like that. So we have to take care of you. Those of us who are healers, our job is to take care of you, to make sure you're okay. We're not intrusive. We're taking care, right? We want you to stick around for a while. We want you to be able to share your creativity to inspire others, right? So if you've experienced any of these things, it suggests that you are experiencing some exhaustion from just trying to deal with everyday anti-Blackness. Next. So I'm not going to get into the neuroplasticity, but only to remind you that what the neuroscience just said 20 years ago is what we always knew. You don't throw any babies away. We don't care what they're doing. We can save them. And now they talk about neuroplasticity, meaning the brain can change. You can rewire your brain. We knew that. Next. So, enduring self-care. So, again, I told you that's where I started talking about enduring self-care and moved to radical self-care. Enduring self-care is important to know because most of the folks that I know who do self-care do very temporary self-care activities. What are those? What's a temporary? Oh, you took the course, ma'am. She wants to shoot to the head of the class. So some of y'all, some of the students out there, what might be temporary self-care activities? Yes. Taking a walk. Yeah, taking a walk is fantastic for a couple of hours.
Wait a minute, can I draw one in? I'm not drawing.
Smoking weed.
Oh,
Temporary.
yeah, that's one. I saw a hand over here. Yes. Journaling is actually enduring self-care. So if y'all are journaling, you have added a year or two to your life already. Right? Absolutely. What are other temporary? And I'm going to come back to that enduring journaling. Because that's neuroscience. Y'all didn't know you were also writers and neuroscientists as well. Writers, neuroscience. What else? Come on. Go on vacation. Oh, I think that's an easy one for everybody because you go on vacation and all it takes is a day or two of work, being back in school, and you're like, dang, it's like I never left. Temporary. What's another one? What is it? Oh, a self-care like health, mental health maintenance day. It depends on what you do that day. Oh, yeah, hair and nails, temporary. They make you feel good for a while. It does. Yep. Take a bath. Yeah, nice soap bath. Get the music going and stuff. Get a candle going. Temporary. Yeah, those are all good. And those are the things that a good friend will tell you. So when you get on the phone, you call, oh, I'm not feeling so good. They're like, take a bath. Yeah. Right? So listen to some music, take a walk, right? So those are all things, and they are good, but they are temporary because they will evaporate after a couple of hours, right? This is based on neuroscience. So this is real, okay? But what we want to do is go into enduring. So I think I have a video. Will it show? It looks like maybe not. It's just
We'll
a
send it
picture.
to them. Okay.
That's okay. That you'll get it when we send it. So the idea is that we want enduring kinds of things. Journaling is really important because, and you heard earlier today with the speaker today, is that there's a relationship between you and the writing. Like there's something going on, and it doesn't happen in other kinds of spaces. But what's happening is that your brain is experiencing a conversation with you, right? It's allowing you to do that inner work that needs to be done. It's as good as prayer. Oh, y'all don't want me to start telling the truth, though. I'm just telling you. It's as good as prayer. Prayer is a form of mindfulness, and it is part of enduring self-care. Meditation is part of enduring self-care, right? So, and I'm going to talk a little bit about prayer, because if I asked y'all, how many of y'all pray? So the question is, how are we praying, right? So I remember when I joined a bicycle club years ago. I joined a bicycle club, and my goal was to do a 25-mile ride. And I knew I was doing well when I reached that prayer level of bicycling. When I was biking and I didn't feel my legs anymore. When I felt like I was a bird and I was flying. I had left my earthly body. You understand what I'm saying? So we're talking about prayer till you get to a meditative state. Now, I can tell you where we did that. So you might have heard old people, older than me even, talking about just having a moaning service. Y'all ever been to a moaning service? All they do is moan. There's no sermon, ain't no cute choir people. It's just moaning. That's all they do in the service. But what happens is they reach that meditative state where we start rewiring the brain. Y'all gotta think about, how did we make it through? I don't think we ever think about the resilience. We think about the pathology, but not the resilience, and about what's in you, what's in your DNA in terms of resilience. So there was a thing, I don't like to take our history back to slavery. I like to talk about our culture, the deep culture before we crossed the Atlantic. We're brought over, we're kidnapped and brought over. But one of the things that captures my interest is the stories of the hush hollows. When we were enslaved, there are a couple of things about enslavement that we need to know in terms of resilience, in terms of pride, in terms of pro-blackness. One is recognizing that those of us who were enslaved were younger than you sitting here. Imagine, younger than you. Second, there was a book I had on my bookshelf by my bedside, and it was called From Sundown to Sunup, The Making of the Black Community. And for a good 15 years, I had read the title of that book, From Sunup to Sundown, The Making of the Black Community. And I just was waiting for a good day to read that book, because I just didn't want to hear about it. But one day, it just came into focus. It was like from sundown to sun up. Well, what the heck was going on? What was going on?
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. The making of the Black community. So we were separated. These young people, younger than you, would escape off the plantation, to go be with loved ones. Now, this is under risk of death if they're caught. This is after they worked all day. Y'all think you're tired now. They worked all day for nothing. And then waited until they could slip away at night, go find their loved ones on another plantation, and they would go into these hush hollow. A hush hollow is sort of a depression in the ground, and that depression holds the sound. And they would just be together, holding each other in a circle, and they would moan. And after they got enough, they'd have to sneak back without getting caught, just in time, because it's now what? Sun up. Now, if that's not black love, what is? No, y'all don't hear me. If that's not black love, what is? That's who you are. That's what's in your DNA. Right? And that's not the story that's being told about who we are. So I'm going to do an activity with you. I want you to tap into your DNA. I want you to tap into your neurons, into that brain. So I want you to relax a bit, right? So if you've got your phone out, put it away. If you've got a paper out, put it away. Plant your feet firmly on the floor. So if you cross your legs, uncross them. Close your eyes. You're safe. I'm watching. I'll keep my eyes open. You're safe. Relax. Relax. If your arms are crossed, uncross them. Relax. Relax. I got you. I got you. Relax. Don't think about school right now. Don't think about grades right now. They'll be there, but you don't need to think about it now. Don't even think about money right now. Think about self-love. Think about pro-blackness. Think about your DNA. Think about it. And then now what I want you to do is to breathe. Now, I'm going to have you to breathe deeply, because often when we're stressed, we hold it in. Sometimes we don't even know we're holding our breath. So I want you to take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Come on, breathe in. I'm going to count to 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and breathe out through your mouth. Do it one more time. Breathe in. 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe out through your mouth. And just stay there. Just relax. Feel it. Just how your shoulders are relaxed a little bit. Maybe even your muscles in your face are relaxed a little bit. Your neck. That feels so much better. Just based in your self-love for a moment. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So that's the beginning of meditation. That's not meditation, but that's the beginning of meditation. That's how we start. That's how we get into that meditative state. If we're thinking about greatness, if we're talking about Black excellence, we've got to get to that meditative state. If we want to be superlative as a writer, we have to get to that meditative state, right? To get to that.
So some things that you can fold into meditation is like guided imagery. Have people done any of that? People heard of guided imagery? Or just imagery. If you're worried about your grades, you can close your eyes and imagine yourself getting the grades you want, hopefully an A. Right? If you're thinking about whatever it is you want to do while you're getting your degree, right? It's a tool. You're not just going to have a degree on the wall. If you want a degree to do something, you can imagine what it is that you're going to do, what you're going to achieve, right? If you want to have your own business, or you want to have an award-winning, screenplay or novel or whatever, you can imagine those things as well, right? So you can use imagery. Another one that's really helpful is to imagine all your favorite things that you've ever experienced strung right together. And you can imagine, what was I seeing? What was I hearing? What was I tasting? Was there a breeze? Was the sun on me, right? You can use all of those things as well to enhance it. So there's a lot of things you can fold into meditation.
Mm-hmm. I know the students are having to go on to their next class, so we know we're losing them. But I did want to just cover the radical self-care, since that's the title of what we're talking about. And so the idea, basically, Andre Lorde came up with this concept. And basically what she was saying is that when we think about self-care, we tend to think about very privileged people being self-indulgent and really not caring about other people, but focusing on themselves. And instead, she said, it is a form of resistance. So I think of it as, when I talk about Black infant and maternal health, emotional health, I think about the fact that just being born is a radical act for Black children. Because we have higher rates of birth deaths. And we have that due to race-based stress. So mothers, Black mothers, are under attack. And just being born is a revolutionary act. So we are under attack, even in the womb. So self-care is not a self-indulgent thing, it's a radical act. Next. Mm-hmm. Next. Yeah, so we've already talked about the self-care, mindfulness, community network. Again, we're gonna send this out to you so you have the PDF of this and you can get the QR code to the virtual mindfulness room. Next. And then we've got 12 things that you can do as a tip. And next. And then community next. And we also have a resource packet. So you'll be able to get this PowerPoint as a PDF. But right now, if you want to access the resource tools, feel free to use the QR code and access it. So we've got some websites for you. We have some apps that you might want to use to just do a quick 1-minute meditation or anything like that. We have some articles for you that you might want to read that might be helpful. So we have that resource packet for you.
Not training courses. Not training courses. The courses.
Yes, and also you can access our training courses next. And then next. And then we will entertain 1 or 2 questions next. And then I did the exercise. We do have a survey, right? I thought I had the link to the May or to...
It might have been in the other one.
I see. Okay, go back to the post-webinar survey. So we have maybe a minute or 2. Does anyone have a question or a comment? Yes.
And just a reminder that, like, I deserve softness too. And we deserve softness, just as much as my grandmother deserves softness. And that being able to have self-care is not a luxury,
absolutely. I am so thankful for your appreciation because that also lifts me up and makes me feel good. My whole point is to have connection, right? To see you, right? And to support you. As I said, as mental health professionals, one of our major jobs is to lift you all up, to make sure that you stay working and doing the things that you do creatively, because that gives to all of us. We need that. You are the keepers of our culture. You're the keepers of our conscience. And so we need you in that. One of the things that I struggled with when I started going into meditation, like I do with a lot of other stuff, is the Eurocentricity of it. And so I felt that in going into counseling and psychology. It's like somebody explained this to me because this looks so foreign. And so I went on the path of what does it look like using African-centered counseling theories? And what does that look like in working with my people? So it's like I always say, if grandma, it doesn't understand what I'm doing, it doesn't support it, I'm doing it all wrong. I don't care who she is. It's like it's got to be recognizable to people. It's got to be within the context of who they are. And so when I started doing meditation, now this is like all Black people, and we're doing meditation and it was foreign. I'm like, raise my hand, excuse me, what are you trying to say? Black people can't be meditative? Excuse me, impossible. Every people have a way of self-healing, everybody. So why are we not using that? So the question is, when are we in that meditative state? Where is it? When are we caring for each other? Where is it? Right? Hair. Getting hair done can be. It isn't always, but it can be a place where it multitasks. It does a whole bunch of stuff for us, but it can place us in a meditative state. Right? Not only doing the braids as an example, having the braids done. How many people have fallen asleep getting your braids done? Right. So that's one of the places. I think about like this week, Holy Week, and somebody was telling me about what all they do at their church. I'm like, shh, y'all wash each other's feet? Come on now. It's like, you've been in one of them old Pinewood churches where they wash each other's feet? We have those tools for self-care, but we have to look for them. We have to decolonize and look for them to know what it is that we're looking for. There are lots of ways in which Black people are meditative. So I had to find this book, Black and Buddhist, to educate my meditation buddies, to get them on board with. We don't need to borrow. We have the tools already. And so we need to look for that. There was a hand up, yes.
So I'm just, that's fascinating on you in a really important way. And it's also interesting because I journal, but I tend to skip it sometimes. But I never skip my meditation. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that being on my nerves, but to the things that you've been told are going to help us are really only to our advantage that also take away from our financial power and into a larger capitalist system that doesn't care about the workers that are out there. So I really
If I could bottle you up, absolutely. That is radical self-love. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm working with two of my former students, and we're writing a book called Blessed Positionality, and it is, it'll come out this year. It is about repositioning Black women, that we are always positioned as, oh, we've got the double problem or the triple problem, in this. And we're like, we're not a problem. Excuse me. We're bringing a bunch to the table. We're blessed, and so are you, that we're here. So we wrote this book about blessed positionality in repositioning Black girls and Black women in society. So I'm all about it.
I just want to say something real quick before I forget. One is about your comment about feeling like it's something for other people or you need to have money, this idea. One thing I was going to say is that we need our portion. In fact, we need to go to the front of the line because we are at a deficit. We have not been engaging in enduring self-care at a level that we needed to. And then mama and granddaddy didn't. Grandmama and granddaddy didn't. So we need to get their portion and our portion. So it's like I'm at the front of the table, going back. We need to be at the front because we need it more. The other point is what's free? I love it, laughter. Do you know laughter? Research says laughter and hugs, those are free, right? The right kind of hug, you know what I'm saying? But the point is a pure hug, just about caring hug, right? A smile. Those things, there's research on all of those things. Those are free. You ain't got to go buy nothing. The sunrise, it's every day. We go on vacation, we're like, oh, I watch the sun come up. The sun comes up every day. We don't do it at home, typically. Some of y'all might. If you do, add some more time to your life. But all those things are free. You ain't got to have no money. So if you're a student and you got the ramen noodles thing going on or whatever, that's fine. You can still engage in enduring self-care for free. All those things are good. If you do sunshine, you also get vitamin D. So you're getting all kinds of stuff that you don't have to purchase. So certain things that we need to live a good life, right? God just gives them to us, everybody, no matter how much money you got, no matter what your skin color looks like, no matter how educated you are or not. Those are equal access things. We just have to take a look at it, right? And pay attention to it. Yes.
I feel like what makes self-care is the ritual aspect. So I feel like that's kind of what's at the intersection of these things. Because it's like while we have the Western tradition of self-care being spending your money, for us, I feel like self-care can be the act of turning on music. It can be the act of taking the time to say, I'm going to sit on my mat and just cry and feel my feelings. It's that intentional ritual. I think that's what makes self-care.
All right, okay.
Well, let me add to that. So you're onto something about the ritual and how ritual is important. And a lot of artists, a lot of writers have talked about the role of ritual. The examples you gave, however, I think we need to make sure that we move it in from temporary to enduring. So when we think about that, the examples, what were the examples of, I'm sorry, they were?
Well, one I said was listening to music, and the other was like being on a yoga mat or like setting a specific place every time that you're going to do something for yourself.
Oh, okay, so I see that, right. So again, about the listening to the music, I think we would have to figure out what would make that ritualistic. How could we move the music from the temporary to the enduring of how do we listen to the music? What music are we listening to be able to move into enduring? So that would be a great thing. The next time I come to Clark Atlanta University, I'll look for you and see what it is that you are doing differently to be able to take care of yourself. That's awesome. Yes, ma'am, I think that'll be the last one. Yes.
I also find self-care is important. Fulfillment in communion with my loved ones. I think that's like how when we all come together, and I mean, not a huge scale, and just eat and laugh and talk and feel the vibe. So whenever I was away from that environment, I felt myself being secret. And sometimes all I need to do is go back to my grandma's farm and walk around and just feel all the energy that has been dispersed into that environment. And I would feel inspired.
Yeah, so some of that is a couple of points. One is given sort of how we're living today, we need to find community or family in a lot of different places. So for me, walking on this campus, having lunch with everybody, getting all excited about the chicken, the fried chicken. But just being with you all, I can feel the connection And I get that same thing. I recognize community. I recognize family and recognize I'm home. I know how to fit right into my family place. And so we need to do that. When we have a colonized mind, instead we other people. So I taught at Xavier for years and years and years. So I'm gonna come here and go, oh, they don't have such like Xavier, or they don't do it like Xavier, or they ain't got this, they ain't got that, da, 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 da. Look at her, she thinks she's cute, she thinks she's smart. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that happens, we know it does. So we have to be able to recognize that and to receive it as well. So when people are reaching out as family to us to receive it. So we can't always afford to go home. So we have to find home and family where we are and to be smart enough to know when we see it and when we're in it. So that's part of it. And then the other part about what you're saying really is about the idea of community and the power of community as a form of self-care and love and self-love. We need to see ourselves in other people and see them as family. I know that Dr. Bess Montgomery wanted to add to that.
It's all about the ritual everyday living and understanding the things that we do, see them as rituals, right? And one of the things that you taught me, we had to do this whole thing on me and eating, was to learn to really enjoy the meal. So could you talk
Come on.
smell
Okay, yes, yes. So speaking of ritual, anything can be ritual. Again, it's about getting into that meditative state. So this is where creativity is. It's in that state. It's when you think you're writing and writing is doing you. You know what I'm saying? It's beyond you. It's outside of you. It's taking over you in that sense. And that happens in a lot of other spaces as well. I used to experience that in working with clients. I would be thinking I'm doing therapy, and all of a sudden, we're doing something else. We've elevated it to something else. So we know that that's where the magic occurs. So one of the things that we talked about, Dr. Bess Montgomery and I, is this thing about we could meditate and should meditate around eating. And of course, one of the issues has to do with our trauma. So we know as Black women, we carry our trauma with us. And part of it has to do with what some of our health issues are. So it's important for us to sort of repackage food. So how often do we stop and do a ritual and do mindful eating? Where we're not looking at TV and eating. We're not looking at our phones and eating. We're not talking to other people and eating. We're just eating. And we're thankful and appreciative. You know, it's like the book, The Color Purple, not the movie, the book, The Color Purple. When we should be grateful for what? Just the color purple. This is how we eat. We look at the string beans and we look at how beautifully they're formed. We look at the color of the string beans. We can actually begin to smell the green beans, right? So this is a way for us to teach ourselves to be more mindful, right? So this is what we talked about, of mindful eating. And one of the wonderful things we did during that week in New York is they liked it so much in our session, they said, can we introduce mindful eating to all the other folks who were in seminars that week, because we all had lunch together. And so we introduced mindful eating and people went for it.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. So that's another technique.
The last thing that I want to say is I want to piggyback on something that you said. You said you realized that was something that you needed to get back to that sense of community, right? So one of the things we didn't get a chance to talk about, but I want to share, is this idea of having a recipe for a healthy life. Right? So part of that is thinking about, when have I been the happiest I've ever been? Right? How did I feel? What was going on in my life? Was it that every Friday the family got together? Was it that I was walking more? Was it that I kept more in contact with my friends? Was it that I went for a walk during lunch instead of eating? I don't know. You have to figure that out. Then the other piece is, how have we as a people gotten over? Talked about those hush hollows, right? So that's about spirituality and also about family, right? So if you can't visit family, then maybe once a week you do, or once a month you do, or everybody does a check-in online, maybe Zoom or something. Figure out what that looks like. If that's when you were happiest, right? Then you already know from your own life, and you incorporate that. What does that look like for you? Does it mean it's once a week? Is it once a month? Is it something that you do? Are you checking in? Do you go back and look at old pictures, actual pictures, not the ones in your phone? The ones in a photo album? I remember that, right? So it's about thinking about what makes me happy. What got me out of it? If I was ever in a funk or a depression, what helped me get out of that? Well, then let me have some of that on a regular basis in my life so I don't get to that point, right? So what we're doing over the course of our lives is coming up with a recipe for your own happiness, right? Your own, be in your own right mind, your own right African mind, right? Where you think well of yourself as a Black person and other people who are people of color as well, right? So that's part of this recipe. And if you can go ahead and experiment, okay, well, it's not really working. Maybe I need a little bit more of this. Okay, I feel good, maybe I don't need as much, but I can have a little bit so that I don't get like that. So that's really about you coming up with your own recipe that works for you. And so that if you have it all written down or however you want to do it, when you find yourself in a funk, you can go back and say, let me go back to that list of things I said, and let me use my own life and our own cultural life to educate me about what would be helpful and beneficial. Right? So thinking about how we got over whatever we've been through and what we've gotten over as a people.
I think that's it. Thank you all so much for staying through to the end. It's beautiful. That's our wordle.
Thank you all so very much for being here. You have the program on the QR code to see what our other events are.
Family and relationship.
If you put relationships, family, it's a lot of stuff that if you combine them, it would be even bigger.
But this is how they set it. Of course, that's the end.
School exams, school.
I know what you're saying.